All right. So as I have been doing, update on the elder selection process. This last couple weeks, you were supposed to be talking with people if you had a concern about him serving as an elder. And so we've gone through that process. And so today, there are sheets, forms that will be available in the lobby right afterwards on the table. And we'll also have some of our young people passing them out at doors for you guys to go ahead and grab one. But on it has the name of our 5 gentlemen who are on this list for consideration as being elders. You are to do a couple things, 4 things. I guess 4 is not a couple, my bad. 1, I want you to pray about it. 2, then you will circle the names of those that you hope to see serve as our elders for the foreseeable future. 3, sign your name. If there's no name, no county. And then 4, put it in an envelope and return it to a basket that we have in the church office. There are some envelopes in there. They do have a little window on them, so just make sure that you keep it secret in there how you put it in there. But again, just circle those who you'd like to see serving as our elders, sign your name, and put it in the office. As Stephen said, this is the last week of games people play, and it seems like our church has really enjoyed this one. I personally enjoyed my last week because somebody happened to buy me a box of hot tamales. So I think when I preach about banana pudding, I get banana pudding. Hot tamales, I get hot tamales. Man, I love you guys. And as George Gordon said, the rock always wins. I lost twice playing paper, rock, scissors this morning, and both times it was on rock. So I was doing good against Glenn. We had the same thing several times until I went with scissors, and he beat me with rock. Games people play. Today's game is puzzles. Now, when we drove into the church parking lot and with my kids, the first time they saw the sign, they were like, puzzles aren't a game. What makes a game? Like a winner or a loser or a challenge? I don't know. So if you don't consider it a game, deal with it. I picked it. You're here. That's what you get. How many of you really like puzzles? How many of you can't stand puzzles? There are a few. I enjoy them unless they're really frustrating. And there are all different kinds of puzzles. You've got your kind of just traditional ones you put together with one picture on one side. And then there are double-sided. Have you seen these double-sided ones where there's a picture on the front and there's a picture on the back? And so as you're getting the pieces, you have to figure out which side you're working with. The worst one I think I never did it, but it was a Thomas Kincaid picture on both front and back. You know how many little flowers he has in there? It's ridiculous. It's like every picture of his is the same. It's just, is the cottage on the bottom left, bottom right, top right? Where's the river flowing through it? You have 3D puzzles. There are wooden puzzles. You got Rubik's Cube puzzles. All different kinds of puzzles, but really, they all have the same purpose or point. You got a bunch of small pieces that when you put them in the right place, they make a whole. They are complete. And so as we talk about puzzles today, a lot of people live their lives as though their life was a puzzle. As though if they get all the right pieces in just the right order, then their life will be full. Their life will be complete. Their life will have purpose and meaning. If I get just the right job, if I get just the right education, if I have the right spouse, the right recognition, if I get all those things put together in my life, then it will be full. But just like the most frustrating thing of a puzzle, the same thing can happen with life. The most frustrating thing with a puzzle is when you get done and what? You're missing a piece. And for me, it normally happens when there's 8 to 10 pieces left. All of a sudden, I start doing the math, and I'm like, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you start walking around. You're like, hey, everybody, check for everything. Did anybody vacuum up a piece? And then you're like, well, maybe I've miscounted. You get it all done, and sure enough, there's a piece missing. And it doesn't matter where the piece is. Maybe it's a side, the middle, somebody's face. It doesn't matter. When you're done, it is a disappointment. It's a waste of time. I just want to pick the thing up and throw it in the garbage. It's like, it's useless. Except for maybe as a white elephant gift exchange at Christmas time. That's what I'm going to take next year. And the same thing is happening with people's lives all over the world every day of the year. Is that people who have lived their life as though if they get just all the right pieces put in the right place, they think their life will be complete, that it'll have meaning, that it will be full. The reality is, nothing that this world has to offer can give you fullness. Nothing that this life has to offer. No relationship, no possession, no recognition, no plaque that will put your name on a wall, no building, nothing will give a person fullness in life. So that's what I want us to look at this morning. Turn to Ecclesiastes. This isn't anything new. I mean, throughout the existence of mankind, we've been wrestling with this. What's the meaning of life? And people have tried to find different answers to that. Ecclesiastes is probably the place in the Bible that deals with this with the most length of time. And so I'm just going to read, starting in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 2. And I'm going to read all the way through about chapter 2, verse 11. And just listen and see how much of the questions that this guy asks, how much of the words that he says, how much of these things do you see in social media? Do you see people lamenting about? Have you heard people talking about over lunch? We wrestle with the same exact things. So Ecclesiastes chapter 1. Meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets, and it hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and it turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again, and what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was here already, long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow. I, the teacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem, and I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, look, I have increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. So I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom, and also of madness and folly. But I learned that this too is a chasing after the wind. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. And the more knowledge, the more grief. So I said to myself, come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good. But that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is madness. And what does pleasure accomplish? I tried cheering myself up with wine and embracing folly, my mind still guiding me with wisdom. I wanted to see what was good for people to do under the heavens during the few days of their lives. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself, and I planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself, the treasure of kings and provinces. I acquired male and female singers, and I had a harem as well, the delights of a man's heart. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. And all of this, my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing that my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was the reward for all my toil. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. The things that he lists, he chased fame, wealth, accomplishments, relationships, possessions, wisdom, laughter. These are the same things that people chase after now. And yet he found that all of them are nothing. He calls it a chasing after the wind. You can't catch the wind. You can't grab it in your hands and be like, woohoo, look at this, I got a little wind. It doesn't work that way. It just slips through your fingers. And he says in his life, he chased all that stuff, and it all just left him grasping nothing. It left him empty, without meaning. I was listening to a documentary of some kind a couple weeks ago, and I wish I could remember which one it was. But in it, they were talking about the things that people chase after. And the guy talking said, whatever somebody values gives them meaning. Whatever somebody values, whatever they think is valuable or important, that's what gives that person meaning. And so, if you think about the different things that people value, what do people value? So sometimes people value their families. They value relationships. They value connections with others. They value their children, and so that's what gives them purpose. They raise their children up. Or they might find value in youth, in looking young. And so they chase after looking a certain way. We chase after health, finances, possessions, all of these things some people value. They say, that's what's most important, so that's what I'll chase after because that's what gives them meaning. Okay, if I get this, if I can just get this one thing, that'll fill that one puzzle piece in my life that's missing, and I will have meaning, I'll have purpose, I'll be full and complete. But it never does. It always leaves us with a hole. So there's a comic here. The guy on the left says, I want to know the meaning of life. And the guy on the right, the wise person, says, have you tried Googling it? By the way, I did this week. It's interesting, the things that you'll find. And by and large, everything, whether it's religious material or secular material, all of it says that you can't find it in possessions. Like everybody knows this, except for we don't know this. We still chase after it. We still chase after these things. And so they all come down to some component of something bigger than yourself, making the world a better place, helping other people out, giving in some way. That's what they say provides meaning. If you look at the last chapter in Ecclesiastes, and if you ever want to take time to read through it, I think reading through the whole book of Ecclesiastes is quite interesting. He talks about different things that people could chase after, and he talks about working hard, he talks about riches are meaningless, but he ends in verse 13 with this. He says, "Now everything has been heard, and here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind." Fear God and keep his commandments. That is the only thing that will provide meaning in our lives. Because it's greater than us. God is greater than anything in this world, anything this world has to offer. The only way to truly find fulfillment, to find a full life, is in glorifying God. Because here's what happens. All these other things. Let's name a few of these. So, youth. Does youth go away? How fast? One day at a time. And then you wake up one day and you go, "What's that? I got some paint in my beard." "Nope, that's gray." It goes by one day at a time. Our health can go away with a simple accident or an illness. You feel great one day and then the next day you don't, and it could last. Finances can go away with the pop of a bubble. Housing market, the downturn of stock markets, economy goes away. Money can be lost. Possessions go up in a fire. Relationships with people move. People die. I've had many conversations with people who their purpose was in raising their children. And so they raise their children. They spend countless hours taking care of them because they want them to be independent adults. And then guess what happens? They become independent adults. And then purpose is gone. What am I doing? What am I living? How long until the grandkids get here? I need more purpose. All of this stuff is fleeting. It simply leaves. Isaiah chapter 43, verse 7, I think I've got a slide for this, talks about why God created us. And so he's talking with the nation of Israel, and he says, "Follow me, come to me, I'll call." But then he says this, "For I have made them for my glory. It was I who created them." He says, "I will call all to me who call me God, for I created them for my glory." Mankind does have a purpose. There is a puzzle piece that will bring us fullness. But that is only in glorifying God. We are created for his glory. That is our purpose. That gives us meaning in life. And an interesting thing happens when we do find our value in God, when we do find our purpose in God, then an interesting thing happens. Circumstances no longer matter. Because we often think that our circumstance could be better, and if only it was better, then life would be better. When we value God's purpose, then our circumstances no longer matter. And so we can be satisfied with life whether we are flipping burgers or flipping houses. It doesn't matter. We can find value whether we graduated magna cum laude or, as they say, thank you, Laudy. It doesn't matter. We can find value and purpose whether we are making decisions with the bigwigs on the top floor or we're making coffee for the bigwigs when we're on the bottom floor. When our changing thinks to my purpose is to glorify God, then I can glorify God in every situation that life has to offer. No matter what my education is, no matter what my family looks like, no matter what my history is, no matter what my job, no matter what kind of recognition people give or don't give to me, if my purpose finds fulfillment in glorifying God, then none of that matters. And I find meaning in all of this. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, 31, it says, do it all for the glory of God. And so in this certain passage, Paul was talking about an argument that people got in between the Jews and the Gentiles. And they said, they shouldn't eat this kind of food because God said don't eat this kind of food. Well, things changed, and then they could eat that kind of food, but some people got hung up on it. And so Paul is talking with them, and he says, hey, whatever you do, whether you eat it or you don't eat it, and then he clarifies, whatever you do it all for the glory of God. So what is it that you do with your life? Are you a teacher? Glorify God the best way possible, being a teacher. You can teach your class, whether it's a class of 5 or a class of 30. You can teach your class in a way that glorifies God. And when you get home at the end of the day, you can talk about your students and their parents in a way that glorifies God. If you sell insurance in a way that glorifies God, seeking what is best for the people that come to you, rather than what makes the most commission. Sell insurance in a way that glorifies God. If you fly airplanes, if you're in training to fly jets, fly your jets in a way that glorifies God. Go through your training in a way that glorifies God. If you're a doctor, if you're a pediatrician, if you are what's the name for the people that take care of feet? Podiatrist. Do it in a way that glorifies God. No matter what your circumstance, no matter what your condition, if you're driving down the road, drive in a way that glorifies God. My wife calls it driving for Jesus. You can do anything in a way that glorifies God. And if you do, I guarantee that your life will be fuller because of it. Live your life in such a way as to glorify God. I want to give you 2 measurable ways to do this. How do I know if I'm doing whatever it is in such a way as to glorify God? So here's 2 simple things. Number 1, are you trying to do your best? Are you trying to do your best? Are you putting good effort into whatever it is you're doing? In your relationship with your kids, in your relationship with your spouse, are you trying to do your best? Not saying you're perfect. Okay, we all mess up. But are you doing your best? Are you working hard? Are you putting your effort into it? And at the end of the day, can you look back and go, I'm satisfied with that. I can look back and I can see what I did, and I know that I was trying my best. Because a lot of it has to do with your effort. Whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart as though you're working for God and not for man. Now, let me warn you. Man might not be pleased with your effort. You can't make everybody happy. You can't be perfect. But if you can look back and say, I was legitimately trying my best to work at it. Okay, that's the first one. Second one, are you treating others better than yourself? So Jesus put it this way, love your neighbor as yourself, or the golden rule, say it with me, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay? So those are the two simple ways to kind of take a measure. Am I living my life in a way that glorifies God? One, am I trying my best? And two, am I treating others better than myself? Because if our decision making is what's best for me, then maybe I'm not living to glorify God. If my decision making and in that process I'm treating others as I would want them to treat me, then I'm probably living my life in a way that glorifies God. Last verse I want to read is from John chapter 10, verse 10. So in this section, Jesus is talking about who he is and what his purpose is. Starting in verse 8, he says, all who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out, and they will find pasture. Verse 10 says, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, but I have come that they might have life and have it to the full. Jesus came that we might have and have it to the full. No matter what this world has to offer and say, hey, you're missing something? Here, try and put this piece in place. It's not going to fit. I think the most recent puzzle that I did was a group of 5 puzzles, and they were like these like 3D type puzzles. And so if you looked at it this way, it looked like one image, and if you looked this way, it would shift. And so it was Star Wars, and so they're having like a lightsaber battle. And so you're like this or like this. And all the pieces were shaped the exact same, and there were like 5 puzzles, and they were all dumped in together. And I think only 1 or 2 of the puzzles was complete. It was maddening. And I don't know how many times, like I found a piece and I stuck it in. I was like, yes, that's it. And then I would turn and then it would shift. Like, no, that's not it. And people are doing that same thing. We're trying to find just the right piece, just the right person to have in my life, just the right job, just the right recognition, and my life will be full. And then we get it, and it leaves us empty. So I encourage you, if you find yourself chasing after just one more thing, let it go. Find your purpose in glorifying God. And you'll find that your life will be full. Jesus came that we might have life and that we might have it to the full. Let's pray. Father God, I thank you for a purpose. I thank you for meaning. God, help me not to lose sight of that. There are so many things in this world that I think that come into our lives and we think will fill our life. And it doesn't. It leaves us disappointed every time. God, help us to be a people that search after you, that follow you and you alone. Pray this in Jesus' name, and the church says, Amen. There is a phrase that gets used in movies or songs, and it's something along the lines of this. Everyone who lives dies, but not everybody who dies has truly been alive. Our life is found in Jesus Christ. So we're going to sing a song. If somebody wants to begin a life in Jesus Christ, come to the front, be baptized today. If somebody needs to be prayed over today, we have elders. Our elders will come down to the front, and we'll pray for you. Pray for you to let go of things that we chase after in this world. We'll pray for health. We'll pray for people that you're concerned about. So let's stand and let's sing.